I'm Dylan Ratigan. I've interviewed nearly every CEO and most world leaders during the past 25 years. And now on Bootstrapping, I'm turning my attention to the new CEOs and the irrepressible entrepreneurs leading the next generation of innovation in the world. Welcome back to Tasty Live. I am Dylan Ratigan. Time for some more Bootstrapping. My guests today, Peter Farnakis and Patrick Hennessy. Their company, 32 Biosciences. They're on the Republic website, raising a couple of bucks. Their business, the gut microbiome. You've heard the phrase, I feel it in my gut. Well, apparently you really can feel it in your gut. And so with that said, it's a pleasure to welcome you both. Dr. Hennessy, I guess I'll start with you as the science domain expert in this discussion. What is it about the gut microbiome what is the gut microbiome, I guess would be the beginning question. And then what product are you offering to make the gut microbiome healthier? And why should I care if how healthy my gut microbiome is?
Absolutely. Well, Dylan, thanks for having us on the show today. It's a pleasure to be here. And just to answer your question, the gut microbiome, what it is, it's the collection of trillions of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and archaea that live inside of our bodies that are actually part of our normal physiology. And what we've learned since the launch of the Human Microbiome Project by the NIH in 2007, is that the gut microbiome actually functions as a sixth vital organ that's as important to human health as our brain, lungs, liver, heart, and kidney.
Let me just pause you for a second. So we think of the brain as a sort of a specifically organized set of cellular tissue that is a specific thing, neurons and the brain, right? Or we think of the heart as a muscle that is a central muscle that does all the things we know the heart does, or the lungs, or the kidney, or the liver. Are you telling me that there's some sort of collection of microorganisms in my stomach that is in and of itself an organ?
Yeah, and it's not just the stomach, actually. It's the small intestine, and more importantly, the large intestine, where the vast majority of the bacteria in our gut microbiome reside. And yes, what science has shown is that as the gut microbiome, the microbes in our gut process the nutrients that we eat, they process those nutrients into physiologically active signaling molecules that enter our bloodstream and have end organ effects everywhere in our body. Meaning that they can control
end organ defense comparable to the function of a kidney or a liver or a heart?
They can modulate the function of all of our tissues in our body.
Meaning I could have a perfectly healthy heart, kidney, liver, brain, lung, but an unhealthy gut microbiome and have a collective health dysfunction that would be just as catastrophic as a poorly functioning liver or kidney or heart.
Potentially. What the science has shown is that it appears that imbalance in the gut microbiome, which we call dysbiosis, is a precursor disease to many, if not most, human diseases. The concept is if your gut microbiome is unhealthy, primarily from eating a ultra-processed, modern Western diet, in conjunction with exposure to chemicals like antibiotics, pharmaceuticals, and other environmental compounds, that can cause the gut microbiome to become unhealthy. When the gut microbiome is unhealthy, the gut mucus layer is degraded and substances in the gut leak into surrounding tissue, driving chronic inflammation. That chronic inflammation then interacts with a human being's genetic makeup to manifest as diseases, everything from neurodegenerative disease to cardiovascular disease, to even cancers.
Mm-hmm. And so then what is your product? How is what you're selling making my gut microbiome healthier? And how is it? I mean, I'm assuming, let me just elaborate a little bit. I'm assuming that if I eat only whole foods and I drink lots of water and I get sleep and I have regular exercise and I do resistance training and I walk, and I don't drink alcohol, and I don't smoke, and all the things that are on the list of all the things that we all know at this point, even if we don't necessarily do them, that my gut microbiome, much like my heart and my lungs and my brain and my whatever, will be relatively healthy. First of all, is that a correct assumption? And second of all, what is the product that you're selling as an intervention specific to the health of my gut microbiome and gut microbiomes generally?
Absolutely. So we're a preclinical stage healthcare company. So we're not currently offering a product. But what we are commercializing is a platform, two platform technologies. One is a diagnostic management tool, and the other is a what we call a microbiome-based intervention. The opportunity we see in the marketplace is that there is a massive amount of scientific data supporting the concept that the gut microbiome functions as a vital organ. However, there is not currently a scientifically validated, FDA-approved test available that can define what it means to have a normal gut microbiome. The problem is, if you don't know what normal is, you cannot define abnormal specifically and reproducibly, and therefore you cannot develop treatment strategies to bring abnormal back to normal. Our platform technology, I'll stop there.
No. So I guess, so basically what this is a diagnostic to set a level.
That is correct. We have developed
non-medical terms.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And so then, which brings me to you, Peter, which is what makes you believe that selling a diagnostic to set a level on the gut microbiome is a worthwhile business proposition?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of things. One is there's a significant unmet need out there as of today, where we've developed our diagnostic management tool, and we already have proof of concept in helping a patient. And in that case, it's an indication of irritable bowel syndrome. And IBS is one that is a diagnosis typically of exclusion, meaning that the patients will have significant intolerances to food, poor quality of life, symptoms that are not helping them to operate in a healthy, happy, normal environment or way. And they go to a number of doctors, they try a number of over-the-counter things, and everything fails. And then what happens is somebody will say,
I'm not sleeping and I have an upset stomach and I have to go to the bathroom a lot.
That's probably likely some of the symptoms. That's correct. And so what happens is there is nothing out there today that helps them to both diagnose and then to monitor as you're making modifications, dietary changes, lifestyle changes, medication changes to show improvement. And so what we've been fortunate to partner up with is 3 scientific founders that are gut microbiome world experts originating from the University of Chicago. 2 of them have come together to create our diagnostic management tool, and they've created a way to establish a functional health measure of your gut microbiome. Not what it looks like, not diversity, not a picture of your gut, but is it functioning properly? And I want to highlight that it's such a big deal. It would be the equivalent of today when you go to your annual physical, you go to your doctor and they do a blood draw and they give you a cholesterol test and they say your cholesterol is high or low. If your cholesterol is high, they dive a layer deeper and they say that your HDL or your LDL is within or out of range. And then they know what treatment plan to apply thereafter. Excuse me. And so what we're developing is a tool for the doctors to use to define what's a healthy gut microbiome, and it does not exist today in the market. The market's extremely large, but what's even more important is it's a proactive, preventative way to get in front of disease. As Dr. Hennessy indicated earlier, an unhealthy gut microbiome, or when one has dysbiosis, could be a leading indicator or contributor to many chronic diseases. So by understanding the health of your gut microbiome, you could either prevent or prolong a large number of chronic diseases. And that's the front end of our company, one aspect of what we're doing. The back end of our company and what we're doing is we're building microbiome-based interventions, both therapeutic, FDA-approved prescription products, and potentially science-based nutritional products down the road to modulate the gut microbiome to bring it back to normal or to bring it back to eubiosis.
So you believe 2 things. One, that you have a product that can set a level to create a metric of health for the gut microbiome. I like a HDL, LDL cholesterol reading.
Correct.
And you believe, in addition to that, that you have one or more interventions that can improve those levels. I like a cholesterol medicine, metaphorically.
That is correct.
Okay. And so, I would say, we're in the popular discussion, I would say, so the sort of pop health discussion, the idea of inflammation in general as a pre-existing a condition, a precursor to cancer, a precursor to other more substantial diseases, more terminal diseases, I guess. And so that the less inflamed we are, whatever that ultimate, however you interpret that, the better our overall long-term health prognosis may be. Am I to understand you correctly, Dr. Hennessy, that a healthy gut microbiome by definition can only exist in a state that is absent inflammation, and an unhealthy gut microbiome is in a good indicator of an overall of inflammation on a cellular level throughout the entire body?
Well, so that's a complicated question just because, there are many factors that can cause inflammation. What we do believe is that the gut microbiome, when it's unhealthy, is a major driver of the chronic inflammation that is associated with so many diseases. And it helps explain why people have chronic inflammation by understanding the way that diet interacts with the microbiome to then result in inflammation. Because if you look at the research on chronic inflammation, almost all the studies show that eating something akin to a Mediterranean diet can help reduce inflammation. But why does that happen? Why would a diet that is known to support the gut microbiome also have so much protective effect across a wide spectrum of human disease? We believe the answer is because the gut microbiome is a critical mediator of that inflammation.
So basically, you're justifying my decision to move to Italy.
I mean, there was an article that came out in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago that showed that 20% of arable U.S. farmland has been fertilized using municipal sewage waste that's highly enriched for forever chemicals like PFAS, including pharmaceuticals and other toxins that Europe does not allow. So potentially, yeah.
The Italians claim that the reason that they're so healthy is because they have the healthiest dirt. The cows eat the healthier, the dirt, grass is healthier, the dairy, all the things. So we need not try to audit that's a pleasant but pointless conversation. To what degree, Peter, do you believe? So, I'm just thinking about the reason cholesterol medicine is a good business is because cholesterol was marketed for decades as a critical health indicator that you want to have your LDLs at this number. Everybody has this rhetorically, whatever it is, right? Or blood pressure medicine, if it's 120 or 130 or 140 or 80 or 70 or whatever the number, everybody sort of, there's a casual knowledge of the health marker that makes it very easy to be like, oh, I need blood pressure medicine, or I need cholesterol medicine. Even if you're right on all the health science, let's assume everything, yes, gut microbiome, it's a problem, inflation, death, blah, horrible, terrible, good, bad. It seems that there's a substantial gap in casual customer awareness of gut microbiome health relative to something like cancer or blood pressure, which I would suggest are the two most sort of the broadest consumer awareness. I guess my point is, are you worried that you're going to be right, but there's not going to be the demand that you would hope for because people don't know and don't care, don't understand?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I would say that there's a couple of angles on this that we need to discuss. One is that gut microbiome and the science and the correlation to an unhealthy gut to chronic disease is relatively new science. And because of that, the products will lag thereafter, including our own. However, there's an enormous, especially if you start following this consumerism push on the gut microbiome. And quite frankly, you've been doing it the whole time without even knowing. By doing things like walking into a GNC and buying vitamins, or buying prebiotics or probiotics, or trying to go a level deeper and looking at kombucha or kefir. People are already aware that there's a reason to enhance their diet or their health, and it's all affecting directly the gut microbiome. What they don't know is when you do walk into a store like that, what do you buy? And why do you buy it? And the reason they don't know that is because they don't have a test like we have. We have a test that's quantitative and it's precise to each individual to tell you exactly what's going on in your gut microbiome and where there may be deficiencies. And when you know those deficiencies, you would know exactly what products to use. When you know what products to use, you can continue to monitor and you'll know if they're actually working or not, or if you need to make adjustments up or down. So it's one thing to understand what products to use. It's another thing to understand how much of each to use. And that's what's missing. So you're right. On one end, this is a new evolving science. On the other end, consumers are out there. The supplement industry is exploding, but people are doing it with a qualitative measure. They're basically saying, I'm doing this because I think it'll help, or I'm doing this because I believe it makes me feel better, stronger, faster, whatever it is. Now, what we have walked into, fortunately, very fortunately, is 3 gut microbiome world experts from the University of Chicago originally. Now one of them works at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So we have 3 full-service functioning labs, 2 at the University of Chicago, 1 at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Collectively, they've raised $119 million from the National Institutes of Health via grants that contributed to the research and development of our 2 primary platform technologies. In addition to that, the University of Chicago received major donations from the Dysbiosis family and the Pritzker family to build the Dysbiosis Family Institute and the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering. And the combination of our 3 scientific founders working with those 2 entities, Dysbiosis Family Institute and Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering, is what's produced our 2 platform technologies. And with that, we are right now taking those products and positioning ourselves to get FDA clearance on our diagnostic physician management driven tool and FDA approval on our therapeutic drug to help modulate the gut microbiome, both with a focus on preventing and treating disease.
You're raising some money on Republic. Final 2 questions. What is the use of funds for the money you're raising now? And what do you anticipate the value of your company can be relative to this market 3 years from now? And how confident are you in your ability? What's the biggest barrier? So I'll say 3 questions. What are you raising money for? What's the value 3 years out? And what's the greatest barrier to accomplishing that value? Peter?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so we've been very fortunate to have significant non-dilutive funding that I mentioned earlier in the amounts of 119 million coming in for R&D through the National Institutes of Health. We've just now begun raising dilutive capital or outside funding outside of incremental grants that we've applied for. We're currently raising a minimum $3 million via a SAFE, which is a bridge financing into our Series A round. We've already closed on 1.2 million. We have another million in verbal and written commitments. And we're using the Republic platform for the 3rd million to help close out this round. And the 3rd million, not just on Republic, but also an access point for our friends, family members, and our current investors to have an opportunity to invest prior to us unrolling the next 3 years of our strategy. In the current offering, our company is valued at 31.2 million is the valuation cap on our SAFE. And as we go into our Series A round, which we plan to launch at the end of this year, hoping to close middle or fourth quarter of next year. The plan will be to utilize those funds, which will be significantly larger than the $3 million we're bringing in now, to help move our company from preclinical, where we sit today, to a clinical stage company. And we'll be doing that by positioning ourselves for clinical trials and beginning those clinical trials with both our diagnostic and therapeutic assets. On the valuation front, as we look out 3 years, one of our strategic plans is exactly 3 years from now, in the middle to late part of 2027, is to either have an IPO, an initial public offering, or a large private offering. And we anticipate the company value will be significantly larger than where it is today, hopefully more than 10x larger than where we are or greater. With that said, is there another question you had, or did I answer all three of those?
No. So what's the barrier? Like, what's the biggest reason? What's your greatest challenge in getting to the envisioned outcome?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is going to be something we talked about earlier, where we're embarking on a new generation of science. And there's going to be some challenge in doing that, because we're helping to work with the FDA to chart new pathways for new products or new types of products that are affecting a new area of medicine. So on one end, it's optimistic and it's exciting. And the other end, when you do chart new paths, it's always challenging. There's going to be challenges, so you have to prepare for those along the way. I think on the other side of the equation for challenges, with our diagnostic tool, I think honestly one of our challenges is we've had a lot of interest in our tool and what we're building from a lot of different fronts, from large academic medical center collaborations to large diagnostic companies to general healthcare companies. And I think one of our challenges is, who do we partner with, or do we do this on our own? That's one of the hurdles or challenges that I see right now. And there's a lot of plus minuses to each of those discussions. And the answer might fall in between all of that, where you don't take a hard direction, you kind of do a little of each. The other big challenge is we're going to need significant capital. You know, as we get past the 3 million minimum target here on our bridge financing, and you get into the SAFE and beyond, you're going to need very significant capital to continue to execute on our platform technologies, because each of them has multiple products underneath the platform technology that we have a plan to position to market. And so the significant capital we'll need significant capital partners. And so bringing those partners into the mix is going to be important. The other challenges might be on the very back end, on the go-to-market strategy side, as we commercialize these products, because you're developing something new and a new approach, to make sure there's proper reimbursement in place. So we've already begun down this path, inclusive of intimate conversations with potential partners, such as large insurance companies that I can't name the names, but we're definitely already thinking about that, despite the fact that our earliest product to market might be 2026.
A pleasure to talk to you both. I wish you all the best. Again, the product is on the Republic platform, 32 Biosciences. I'm assuming the 32 has a basis with 32 like KPIs of the gut microbiome or something. Is that a good guess?
We actually, it's written 32 Biosciences. We pronounce it 3 squared. And the idea behind it is our 3 scientific founders, 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. But those 3 working together gives us exponential output. And so we call it 3 squared Biosciences.
So it's like code language for exponential biosciences.
That's exactly correct. And Dr. Patrick Hennessy came up with some of that communication, and you just gave us some other incremental good ideas on positioning. So thank you.
Good. Well, we wish you both all the best, and all your investors and partners and all the rest of it. And here's to a healthy gut for all of us. Appreciate your time today, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan.
All right. This is Bootstrap. You're watching Bootstrapping. I am Dylan Ratigan. More Tasty Live coming up.